computer. So welcome everyone to another week of the Collab Lab. Are we week 4 or 5? 4. Woo!
Let's go.
How has everyone's last week been? How is everyone feeling about the project so far? If anyone wants to share anything with the group. Yes.
That's been awesome. That's been okay for me.
Yeah. Good. Do you feel like
this week was good? Sorry.
Yeah, no, just is everyone feeling like they're learning things and getting frustrated a bit sometimes, and like, because that's all normal.
I don't know. It feels like, for me, it feels like we've been on a very long break.
That we've been on a break.
Yeah, that's what it seems. And we haven't done a lot in a long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this week is going to be a little bit shorter because we are starting on Tuesday, because it was a day off for a lot of people yesterday. But I'm sure you'll be fine. If it's gonna be, because we do try to merge everything before the end of the week. So if there's any issues, like just let us know during the week. So Peter is off this week, so it's gonna be Aristos and I. Yeah, let's kick off this meeting with the demos, the fabulous demos. I reviewed the code last week. I was very impressed. So looking forward to the demos. Who wants to start? I think. So there was one issue with yeah, I'm not going to spoil, but who's the first group that wants to start?
Can we start, Cassandra? Let me just share my screen.
Oh, sorry, let me give you the thingy.
Oh, thanks.
Permission. Okay, yeah, should be good now. Go for it.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, you can see.
Bear with me. Okay, I'm there, finally. So ours was just a little task to make the interface a bit friendlier for the user. So our functionality was that if the user is a new user or a user that has no items so far in their list, they get a little prompt on the list view to tell them there are no items in their list, and then they get a little button to tell them to get started, which takes them over to the add item view. And if the local storage,
It's going to be in the application if you're looking.
yeah, I'm trying to move all my Zoom controls. They always seem to be covering the bits I want. So if we clear local storage, and I'll go back to home, and if the user does already have a list with some items on, they will get, it's not called that, is it? It's called my test list. They will get the actual list. So it's a bit of a ternary, which Cassandra will talk you through to kind of demonstrate or to conditionally render based on whether there are items on the list or not items on the list. I'll stop sharing and Cassandra can talk you through the code to do that.
Thank you. And sorry, was did we see the spinner here in this code, or is the spinner not in this code?
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. There's a spinner added just to demonstrate to the user that the page is loading.
Cool. And it's just about that. I find oftentimes that it's good to there's in network settings you can throttle the connection, so you can wait. simulate how fast the connection is. So for example, you can have a very good Wi-Fi and it like works marvelously, you know, going to check the data and the data is loaded immediately. But sometimes it's good with these kind of UI interactions to test how the connection with slower connections, how this looks. And if you go to the network tab in your developer tools, you can throttle the connection and connect to like a 3G or like a slower connection, and then see how it might look for people that are maybe using their phone data or are maybe don't have such good connections, just to see what experience they get.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Over to you, Cassandra. Yeah.
So I'll go ahead to share the code, the functionality. So this is the app.js. I guess we can all see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. So this is the app.js, and in line 19, we're able to set states. We named it is loading, and then set the updated state to be set is loading, and the initial value to false. The initial value is false, and going down to line 35, I guess this is a function that fetches data from the database. So in line 36, before the data is even fetched, or before it's even the app checks whether there is data in the database, we had to update the loading state to be true. This is where the loading starts, pending when the data comes from the database. If you look at the UI, once you get to the list view, the loading. Okay, first of all, before all this, we install the React spinner, right? So if you go to the UI before the user even, once you create this and you're in the list view page, it starts to load. That's this is loading to true. So that pending when the data will come from the database. So okay, going down, this is where the fetch was made. It's brought back a response in form of a snapshot. Then coming down to line 58, 57, basically the data has been retrieved, right? And then at this point that we updated our state to false. So at this point, it's assumed that it has stopped loading. And then we were able to update our is loading state to false. So going down, we passed that state as a prop through the list view. We passed it here so that we can be able to use it and manipulate it in the list view page. Then coming here, we imported the React spinner. The name of this particular one we use is BitLoader. So we imported it from React and received the states, the loading state here, so that we will now check. In the other app.js, we didn't really check whether the content of that the data that was fetched, whether there is a list inside. We just checked whether a data has been fetched. There was a call, and the call had the response is back. Okay, so here we were now able to check if it's loading. If in line 19 we checked if whether the UI state is still loading, and if yes, return this particular bit loader, the color, the size of it, and then if not, do the normal return this whole data. And inside this data, this is where our main work is, where we are able to check the length of the data that was returned. If it's 0, that means if there is no data returned at all, we should now set the button. That's where we gave that the list view. That's where we gave the list view that look. So we checked if the data that was returned is 0. If not, if it's 0, if it's 0, that means there is no data. You have to create new list. So we provided the paragraph text and then the button to get started. So you notice that once you click that get started, it takes you to the add item view. So that's why we wrapped the get started button using the link element, so that it directly takes you to the add item view where you now start your new creation of list. And then if not, that means if there is data already, the list view then display the data. This is a task for last week. So we're able to wrap it in such a way that if there's no data, display this our own list view page, list view UI. if there is data in it, display this other list items. So that's it. I don't know if there is any question.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions about the code?
Not from me.
I just wanted to say, Cassandra, one thing that I noticed just now is you could set the loading to true because you're using the use effect anyway, right, in the beginning. So you could say, is loading true? And then in that use effect, you don't have to set it again. You just set it to false once you get the data back. So by default, you have the spinner in loading. And then after you get the data back, you can set it to false. You see on line 36. Yeah, you could skip the line 36 and instead initialize the is loading to true.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay,
like,
instead of being false initially.
yeah, you
Okay.
could just have it as true and then skip that setting in the use effect. Just a tiny cleanup.
Okay, I'll try it out.
Yeah, otherwise really good job. And I just wanted to say that the spinner is an extra task that I gave because they were so quick. And I thought that we could do something cool because implementing spinners is a very common thing to do when you're dealing with UIs. Because we're trying to demonstrate, especially again with users with slower connections, that something is happening, right? Because people are just going to leave our website or app if they click on a button, nothing is happening, even though in the background we are waiting on the data to come back, but we want to see that, right? We want to see like a progress bar or something spinning or something, right? So yeah, that's just a nice little tool to have in your toolkit. Very good.
True.
Cool. Nice. Now let's jump onto the other group, please. So Mike and Sandra.
Hi everyone. Thank you. So I will walk you through the demo. Just give me a second. I'm just gonna share my screen. Hopefully this is the one. Can everyone see my screen? The UI of the app?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. So Mike and I, we have been tasked to develop the functionality to meet the acceptance criteria of the issue number 8. As a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchase, so the app can learn how often I buy different items. The purpose of this feature is to allow users to make the items as purchase, so they can track what on the list they do and they do not want to buy. So going to the UI, we can see in the list component that now renders a checkbox next to the items. So moving on to the next point of the acceptance criteria, it says when checking off the items in the UI, also update the date last purchase and total purchases properties on the Firestore document. So I'm gonna just put these two screens together so I can see how that happens. No. So if we check this checkbox, we can see the date last purchase here, and the total purchases have been updated in real time. Moving on to the next point of the acceptance criteria, says the items is shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made. So here we have checked the item, and if we refresh the page, the item is still checked, and it's going to be for 24 hours. After 24 hours, it will uncheck itself. So I think that's all for me for the demo, and for this functionality. So next step, Mike will walk you through the code. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. So let me just share my screen quickly. Can you see my screen yet, please?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so like Sandra said, the issue we had to resolve last week was creating a checklist, or being able to check each item on our checklist. And then once we check it, we want to update the date last purchased and then total purchase. So in order to do this, we had to populate this function here, the update item function. And so we had to update it with the list ID, the item ID, and then the items that we wanted to update in the database. So for that, after doing that, we had to import the update doc, and so we created a connection here to our database using the DB. This list ID is a token, this token, and then the item ID is the item of the ID of the particular item we're updating. So we imported this function here, and then we passed in the reference to the database and then the items we are updating. So that's all for here. So we exported this function to our list item here, this item. And so within the list item component, here, we handled this checkbox that we created using the onChange function and the default checked and then the disabled attributes. So here we passed in for the update item using this function here. All right, using this function here, the handle update, we passed in is checked Boolean value, a parameter here, and then dates. So this is the day to be updated, and then the purchase counter. So for the purchase counter, we're checking the total purchases of that item that is already in the database, and then we're adding 1 to it. And then we're using the try and catch block to either successfully update the item using this function, or if not, throw an error here. So for this, you checking if the item is, we're checking here, you're using this if statement to check if the item has been checked. And if the item is checked, where we put this day and purchase counter we created it as an object, and we called this function we updated from Collab store while using await because it's the same function. And then we passed the list token into it, the ID of the item, and then the what we want to update that particular item with. And then we're just logging in here to know when the item is successfully updated in the database. And so the other criteria was to make sure that the item stays checked for 24 hours before it unchecks itself. So in order to do this, we had to use a date function. We installed this date function, and then using this object in date function, we passed in a new date, and number of days. So this function is just a subtract. So subtract this number of days, which is just 1 day from the current date. So reading this function now, just subtracting 1 day from today. So that will give us about yesterday. And then we're checking if the yesterday is less than item dot date last purchase, that is the date we last purchased the item. And if it is true, then we passed this function into the default checked here. So this is why our item will stay checked for 24 hours. So once this date go, once these two are equal, that is once this is no longer less than this, the item will be unchecked. And then we're also using the same thing for disabled, so that the user cannot uncheck an item until 24 hours. The item unchecks itself automatically. So we're passing in order to handle the unchange, we're passing in the handle updates function. And for this parameter we entered at the beginning, so we're entering this argument to either passing, so that when we check the item, this becomes true. And that is how we built this functionality. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, very cool. Does anyone have any questions, maybe from the other team? Karen, Cassandra, does this all make sense? Yeah,
No
questions.
questions from me.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say again, it's super cool that you use the date FNS library, because like I said, like it's a lightweight library and very useful. You will encounter it sooner or later, especially if you deal with forms, birthday inputs, whatever inputs, and it's very easy to make a mistake when you do this manually. I told Mike also on the PR that we just had this issue at work recently where someone was manually doing a difference between two dates, and everything broke on March 1st because February had only 28 days, and someone did not account for that for some reason. So yeah, Date FNS is a wonderful lightweight library that is super handy for anything to do with dates and times, but especially differences, calculating differences between the two. We used to have like this Moment.js library that had a very bad reputation because it's so heavy, but now we're lucky to have this, and you can just actually, if you want to be like super lightweight, just import the parts of the library, like the separate functions that you want, so to be like super lean. But yeah, anything with date and time, date FNS is a good solution. Very cool. Does anyone have any other questions, observations? Was anything unclear? Anything good? Anything? If not, we can move on to the next bit of the meeting, which is a retrospective. I sent you the link in the Slack channel. If you can all hop over to there. I've used kind of more of a template that we use at work. So last time we had a good, bad, was a good, bad, and angry or something, like good, sad, angry. And this one is the one that we use at work. So it's what we did well, what we learned, and then what should we do differently. And then if we have any questions, like if you're confused about anything, like that's like miscellaneous column. So we will, I think Mike dropped off. Can you all see the retrospective? Are you all in? I think I can see Aristos. I think I see Karen. So Cassandra and Sandra, can you both come over to that as well?
So we need to create an account, really, right?
I don't think so. We're using the same thing as last time.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can just click on it. I think you're already in the team that Aristos created last time.
Okay. So
And
the last link that you sent to the TCL now,
yeah,
right? Okay. But maybe I need to log in or something because it takes me to the login page. Let me see.
yeah, let's
You might see two links showing up in Slack. It's the top one rather than the bottom.
ooh, there's two links. Oh, I see. Yeah, there's two. One is like the generic one, so maybe the one, yeah, on top that has like a reflect at the end of it. Because we're reflecting today. Okay, so I can see now Cassandra as well. So yeah, Mike and Sandra, if you can both also join us. I can also add the link in Zoom. Maybe that will also help. Chat here. Cool. Let's see. I can still just see the four of us. So Sandra and Mike.
No, it's so weird. Just send me the sign-in page. So I think I will have to create an account. I can't access it with the link. It just sent me to the login page.
And the link that I sent in Zoom, can you try clicking on that one?
Yeah, I click both, the top one and the one down, and both of them send me to the link.
Let me see if I can invite you specifically, because like definitely I can see that you were invited last time.
Yeah, so it's called Parable.
Parable, yeah, and I can see Mike now as well.
Okay, well, I cannot. Okay, I'm gonna create the account.
Okay, but while Sandra does that, I'll create a 5 minutes timer. So just start. So the first column, like it says there. So what went well, and then learnings is what we learned, then improvements, things that maybe you would prefer to be done differently, suggestions, ideas, and then questions is just like confusing things. So yeah, 5 minutes to just write whatever you would like to add. So Aristos, do I just click on next and that's gonna
Yep. You click on next, yes.
okay, excellent. So I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna click on next and let's see what happens. Yes, go away Zoom bar. Next. Okay. So we have wow, lots of things. Okay, so let's start with wins because that's always a good place to start at. I think we have worked very good as a team. That's good. I think also the fact that you keep swapping partners, I think it's very good exercise of learning to work with other team members as well. This is I copied the feedback that Peter left for us, which is for the Collabis. I would have to admit that I'm impressed by how much you are all improving in terms of communication and collaboration. I can see you all have high technical skills and I would only encourage you to keep going. And in a short time, you'll all be amazing senior engineers. Wow. It's been an honor working and learning from you all. So very, very, very positive feedback from Peter. And I do agree. It's just, yeah, you just have to keep doing it, I think. But yeah, with hard work and persistence and like the skills that you already have, I think it's just a matter of time. For the mentors, so that's for the rest of us. Thanks so much for stepping in for each other and supporting the Collabis. You're doing great so far, and I really appreciate and admire your efforts. Good. I'll take that, right? Aristos will take that. How do I? Okay, just scroll down. Very good progress.
Yeah, this thing of handling the cards is a little tricky. I never got used to it. Anyway, yeah. My comment is that I have noticed all these weeks that everyone is doing really great and they're on a very good level, and in terms of communication and giving feedback on the PRs and everything. So yeah, just kudos to the team.
Cool. Yeah. So Karen said, as Peter said, I think our PRs and GitHubbing are both improving every week. So Karen, how's your GitHubbing these days? Like, what do you think you've learned specifically in the last couple of weeks?
Firstly, maybe that wasn't Peter that said that. I'm now thinking, was it you, Aristos? Sorry if it was.
Someone.
I think it's just the level of detail. I hadn't really realised the level of detail that is required to make it useful for your fellow collaborators. So I think really thinking through what it is they need to know each time and the steps that they need to go to test it and stuff. It's details, I think, is what I've learned.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I really like how everyone is doing PRs now, that the descriptions for testing are so good, and just saying exactly like what's been changed, because that just saves everyone's time. And you'll notice, like, when you work as a developer full time, it's like your brain and your attention span is like so important. And when you switch tasks and like, you know, you're working on your code and you have to do a PR and you're like, oh my God, I have to do all this now. So you really appreciate when someone just kind of hands you on the plate, like, this is what you need to look into. These are the files I have changed. I would appreciate if you look more into this, you can ignore that. Like, any kind of help like that is very appreciated. Very nice, yeah. Yeah, same for me, like very good couple of weeks. I think for myself as well, I saw a lot of progress. I think more confidence, the fact that like one of the teams finished the issue so quickly this week as well. And then in the other one, I had a couple of comments, like very quickly they were resolved, like very good communication throughout. So yeah, really good stuff. And then we have another one from Karen. We're still doing well at making progress early in the week and leaving plenty of time for revisions if needed. Yeah, exactly. I think time management is great. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else here, Karen. Yeah.
No, not really. Thank you. It'll be interesting to see if we can manage that this week with a shorter week. But yeah, no, nothing really to add.
Yeah. And speaking of time management, I also thought like the demos are getting better. Like I feel like you're getting more prepared. There's more like, okay, poof, share screen, do. So I really appreciate that we're like saving a little bit of time and again attention. So yeah, it's good. Then we have from Mike. I enjoyed getting feedback on my task last week. As a self-taught developer, I'm used to working with my ideas only, so getting detailed feedback on improvements to something I'm building was good, and it made the application more user-friendly. Did you want to add anything else about that, Mike? Is Mike there?
No, not really, not really. I think that's just it, really. So the feedback I got on the issue worked on during the week or last week was it was good, and then it just so after putting them in place, like I could see how improved the app had become. So that's basically, that was it, really.
Yeah, really good. Oh, can I move this Zoom thing away? Go away. Okay. Cassandra says, I like that the mentors still point out how we can improve our code after the presentation. Yeah, I hope you like that. Because you know, like sometimes I feel when I work on my stuff and I already merge it and someone's like, actually, could you change that? But yeah, Cassandra, that's very gracious of you. Did you want to add anything else on that, Cassandra? Yeah, all good. I don't know if Cassandra is still there. Do we? Yes, you're here. Cool. Then we have another one from learnings, also from Cassandra. I learned better ways to write code to prevent repetition and to make it clean. Did you want to say specifically, Cassandra, what was it that you learned? How are you making your code cleaner? Cassandra.
Is it better now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I was actually talking before, I was commenting on this last win that I said here. Now, even after mentioning it, and it's still nice that some mistakes are pointed out so that we don't just go with the previous knowledge we have because it has been merged. So it's actually so good that even after merging, we are still able to know what got wrong, and we have the ability to still go to GitHub and make another changes there. So coming to I like the fact that yes, I've learned very well how to write clean, concise code here because I can remember one particular review on GitHub. I remember the particular issue now. So I was just asked to remove a particular, even this last one today. But the fact that I have to just remove a line of code is something, and the app can still work fine even after removing it. So I'm learning how to write cleaner code and dry, making it dry, straight to the point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's you'll see like it's the work never finishes. Like even once your code is deployed, your code is merged, it's non-stop. Like you will maybe have a better idea, like you will learn something, you will want to refactor it. So it's like it's non-stop improvements. Like the code is never finished. And it's like when you work with other team members, they come in, they change something, maybe they break something, maybe they add something. So it's all the time. It's like you keep iterating on the same code and hopefully improving it. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, so we'll keep pointing out if we find anything, because we also mean it in like our bestest intentions. I feel like oftentimes the code is already good enough. Like I sometimes when I review code, it's like, oh, this is good. And then I think like, but actually I know you can do even better. You have such a understanding now, everyone, that you can understand the nuance, like between like, this is okay, correct, people will understand, to this is actually really good code. So we are trying to like also push you towards there because we know what you're capable of a bit. Cool. Very nice. Okay, then we have two from Mike. I learned that I don't have to use state to handle everything in React. I was trying to save the counter variable in a state to update the total purchase count, which complicated what I was trying to achieve when all I just had to do was add 1 to item purchase count. Yeah, that's true. It's a great observation, Mike. Very good. Because especially React developers, we tend to really rely heavily on state, and sometimes, like you say, there's better solutions like database. Cool. Did you want to add anything else here, Mike?
No. I think I wrote two things there. I think just
Yeah. I also realized I did not have to handle the on-chain state of the checkbox with a state, and I could do it directly on the function. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, and that's kind of sometimes a trade-off. Like if it's a very simple thing, it's nice to just keep it in line, like on change. And then at some point, like if you want to add an, like, I don't know, like an if condition or some other thing, it's much better to just move it out and have it separately. But yeah, very cool. And then we have, we are getting, that's from Sandra, we're getting a lot better at creating and developing our PRs. Yeah, very cool. Sandra, how would you compare your like progress from week 1 to like now? Like what changed?
Okay, so well, from week 1, I didn't know anything about how to create this PR like this, and add the description. I never did that before, and all of these things here that we can close. What issue are we closing, and it will close automatically after after the PR is merged. And I like the testing steps because it make the other teams and for ourselves understand better the task and easily go and do tests from the other issue. I really think that helped me a lot to get more clarity about what we are doing.
Yeah.
Also
Yeah.
because of the comments and it's very, very easy to use.
Yeah, and it's not scary, right? Like it's
No, it was at the beginning, but now, yes, with practice, I'm getting a lot better at this.
yeah, exactly. Very cool. Yeah, because it's just about mileage and it's just a conversation, right? It's a conversation about code. It's nothing scary. And the thing with Git is that anything that you do, you can revert as well. Like there's always a way. Like you can't really mess things up. So there's always a way back. So to me, that's also kind of comforting. You can never really destroy anything because we have version control. Very cool. Okay, we're moving on to the last column. Karen says she can't think of anything to improve, more of the same, really. Okay, good. We'll for sure get you more of the same, more code to write. Cassandra says, I don't know, but if we can give particular time frame for the other pair to review code on GitHub so it can be more organized. That's a good point. Did anyone have like the feeling that they had to wait for too long, or like specifically Cassandra, like what would you like to improve?
Okay, so I've seen a situation where we still have to add something to the code, but then before you get the feedback to even add something, we're already in the weekend, getting closer to Monday. So sometimes we'll just finish making PR, adding other teams as well, viewers, but then before they get to see the code, and then before it now gets to mentors, it will take a whole lot of time. So I am just suggesting if it can be improved upon. So like to get to the mentors earlier so that we can get the feedback and maybe work on it again earlier.
What do other people think? Does anyone else have any similar like idea, experience, something that they like? What do you think about this suggestion?
So usually I haven't noticed that that it takes a while for the pairs to review, because for me it's usually at least one member of the pair. If one member of the pair has reviewed it, then you can just move on to the mentor. Usually what I have done in whichever pair I have been in is to make sure that when we are pushing to GitHub, we're adding everybody as the reviewer, like the two pairs and then the mentors. So any review that comes in, we just respond to it immediately and then we'll move on from there. So I don't really think we need to wait for the two members of the pair to review before we move on. At least that's what I have been doing.
Anyone else? No. So I think, yeah, I understand what the problem could be, maybe about the timing and trying to finish to wrap up the task. One thing that I would say is that I do think that it's useful because we're trying to improve our skills as reviewers as well. So I think it is important not just to get familiar with the code, which is one thing, and it helps us overall, right, to know all the code that's been added. The other thing is that we also want to be better as reviewers, because when you will work in a team, yes, of course, you need to write your own code, but a big part of the working in a team is reviewing other people's code. So I think if it's something that takes you a lot of time, or something that you don't like to do, or you don't think it's that important, maybe start thinking about like, this is a very important skill to have. Like for me as well, like it takes me at work a lot of time sometimes to review other people's code, and I'm like, oh, I have my own work to do. But it's a very important part of being in a team. So I'm not sure that we should be skipping the step, and I kind of would like everyone to see the code before the mentors do it, so that not because we want our jobs to be easier or anything like that, but just so that you have the chance to notice things. And if you notice things, that you communicate them. Or if you have any ideas for improvements, that you tell the other team members, just because it's a new skill that you will need to have. I'm not sure what do other people think about this approach.
I agree. I think that it should be both members of the team reviewing it. But also I just wanted to say to the fellow Collabbies, if I'm ever slow, you can completely DM me and hassle me. I won't be offended at all, because I'm at work all day and sometimes don't see stuff. So please don't be afraid to do that.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
agree
No,
with-
sorry, go on.
Sandra, go ahead. No
Oh,
worries.
thank you. The same, I agree with what Eva says, and also please, if I'm taking too long as well, if please feel free to text me or send me a message on the Slack. So what Mike says, proposes, like, if only one member of the team review the code, it would be okay, yeah, but now we agree that it's gonna be both. We review the other teams okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I think you as developers agree that this code is good. You all think this code is good and could be merged. And then it's up to us to maybe suggest improvements or like final touches or notice. I don't know, Aristos, maybe you say something because I'm talking too much.
Uh, no, it would be along the same lines that it's nice to go through that process and and do the review yourselves, even if it sometimes takes one day more because it's a very important skill, and it gives you the chance to because you read your Collab's review, you read ours, so you have the chance to take many opinions. So I think also it has worked out so far the way we do the review. So yeah, the important thing is that you learn from this process.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so I think for now we'll keep the two. So all 4 developers have to see the code and approve it, and then at least one of the mentors has to approve it before it can be deployed. Nice. I'll just quickly go to the last ticket, and then we will quickly move on to the issues because we're running out of time. Yeah, so Mike says that I've been thinking about learning how to write unit tests. I know it's a very important skill to have, but I have never found the need to do this in my applications when I build, but I finally encountered a need for writing tests in the last issue. Yeah, cool. I think unit tests. I think it's a topic that we could be discussing for a long time because I have opinions about unit tests in front-end code. But yeah, I think, Mike, if you would like to work on the skill, feel free to add unit tests onto the next issue, and we will be happy to review it. Maybe other collaborators will learn something from it as well, but more as like an extra add-on. So if you have the extra time, feel free to add unit tests, and we can implement that also retroactively, like for the past tests. What do you think about that?
Yeah. It's yeah. I don't think I'll learn it while we're going through this project. Maybe something I can do later. I just felt it was.
Yeah.
So in testing the application to make sure that it unchecks itself in 24 hours, is something that I should have written a unit test for, rather than waiting for 24 hours to elapse and see whether it unchecks itself. But the unit test would have easily told me that, okay, yes, this function is actually working. So I think that was where I needed that.
I mean, maybe even more than 24 hours elapsed, you could just check the date, which day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you could just
true.
do like a check whether the change was in the database. But yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I will hand it over now to Aristos, who's going to be doing the issues. Just a quick note, I'll be doing the office hours. I will send you a thingy so we can agree on the time. And Aristos is going to be doing the code reviews for this week. Okay, Aristos, over to you for the issues.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry about that. So, issues 9 and 10. So 9, as a user, I want to be alerted when I'm entering an empty item or an item that's already on my list. The title is pretty self-explanatory, so we shouldn't be able to add an empty item to a list, or if the item already exists, we shouldn't also be able to add it. You may think a lot of, tries to implement it. If you have any question, just ask us. You can see the acceptance criteria here. So because that issue can go very far, but start with these 4. And if you want to move past that, we can discuss it through the code reviews. Any questions?
No.
Great. So who wants to work with that? No, not me, of course. Okay. What was the pairs last week? So that I don't. It was Karen with Cassandra, right? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Karen with Cassandra. So I will assign this to Karen with Mike. Is that okay?
Yeah, it is. It is. Mikey. I think that is Mikey. Let's go with that. Yes, the second one.
Perfect. So moving to issue number 10 is as an item, I want my estimated next purchase date to be computed at the time my purchase is recorded in the database. So the app can learn how often I buy different items. So I will read the summary as well. In order to advise users about when to purchase things, the app needs to be able to calculate that guess and store it in the future date. So we have the calculate estimate function, which you can take from this npm package. So you don't have to build it yourselves. And in order to use that calculate estimate, we need to know how many days have passed since the item was last purchased. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're a little out of time. Just take a look at the notes here. We discussed about the data finesse. So yeah, you will definitely find it helpful here. So yeah, as you realize that the issues start to become more and more difficult, but I think the team is at a very good level and you can definitely manage it. And yeah, and if you need any help, text us on the channel even during, before the code review time comes, so that we can help with anything that you need. Any questions? No.
No.
Perfect. Perfect. So I think that pretty much sums up our weekly sync for today. If there are not any more questions, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Like I said, I'll ping you for the office hours. Have a lovely week ahead. If you get stuck, let us know. Otherwise, happy researching, happy pair programming. And yeah, we'll see you, if not any sooner, on the Monday. As per usual, we'll continue our wiki things on the Monday evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.